All right. Hello, everyone. A friend of mine sent me a article that came out a couple of days ago from Nimmo. If I'm not mistaken, he works for InfoWars. I'm not a big Alex Jones fan, but this guy put out a good article. Um, they always talk about what Australia's doing. Whenever I get into a gun discussion, they always say, "Well, Australia gave up their guns," and it's like I don't give a crap what Australia did. Why we got? When did like Australia become the standard for world behavior? I don't care what China did, I don't care what Russia did, and I don't care what Australia does. But anyway, they're considering pre-crime indefinite detention. So they label you a terrorist. They're going to stick you in prison as long as they want to, even after you serve whatever long sentence they assign you. So imagine how that applies to like Bryce Matthew Quellar, right? He's going to be labeled a terrorist. He's going to be he pled guilty to threats of terrorism, and so now they're going to have this pre-crime indefinite detention, and even after he serves whatever time they assign him, and I pray they don't serve him any time. Well, they'll just say we'll keep you in prison indefinitely until your attitude changes, and then they'll just want to break your spirit. But let's read the article together, and I just wanted to make a video documenting that this article came out. I think this is where the world is headed. I see it happening time and time again with Schaeffer Cox, Bryce Matthew Quellar, and others. All right, the title of the article is Australia Considers Pre-Crime Indefinite Detention, October the 9th, 2016, by Nimmo. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has introduced legislation that would keep prisoners convicted of terrorism offenses locked up indefinitely. There's some sort of tweet here from Mark Collins. You guys know who Mark Collins is? Let me know. I have no idea. Is that some fancy politician somewhere? I don't know. Terrified of terror. Australia plans indefinite detention, EVE. Prisoners who have served their sentences could be denied release. So you serve your 26-year sentence. They sentenced him to prison at 24. He'll be 50 years old when he gets out, and he served his entire 26-year sentence. Completely innocent man. Hey, we still think you're a terrorist. You stay in prison. The Washington Post reports the change will upend centuries-old legal principle that prisoners are automatically released when their sentences end. Even the United States, which has kept suspected terrorists in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, without trial for over a decade, doesn't allow prisoners on U.S. soil to be held after their sentences end. No other democracies in Europe or North America do this, said Elaine Pearson, the director of Human Rights Watch in Australia, in an interview. The definition of terrorism is pretty broad in Australia and includes the financing of terrorism and recruitment, which is one of the reasons we're worried about this. Last year, the government of New South Wales trained police to shoot and kill suspected terrorists instead of negotiating with them. Wow. Following a hostage situation at the Lent Cafe in Sydney, the Herald Sun reported, if we have learned anything from the Lent Cafe siege, it's that terrorists cannot be treated like other criminals. They cannot be placated, reasoned with, or exhausted into submission. Law enforcement authorities around the world have long recognized that these waging jihad are a different breed, requiring different strategies. It should be noted the man responsible for the hostage crisis, Haran Moines, was not a political terrorist. He was a schizophrenic and described himself as an Iranian intelligence official, a political activist, a spiritual healer, and expert in black magic, an outlaw biker, and a Muslim cleric. You telling me there's a Muslim that rides a motorcycle? I want to see that. Does he wear his long robe thing? That's got to be the goofiest looking thing I've ever seen. Anyway, the police killed Moines and 2 hostages during the siege. Okay, you guys hearing it? Now, you guys are all for it when you hear Muslims. Like, let's stick those Muslims in prison. And let's throw away the key. And let's don't even let them out after they serve their sentence. I tell you what, it's attitudes like that. Because here's what the deal is. They're recruiting and encouraging radical Muslims to enter this country. If you don't believe that, read that book, See Something, Say Nothing by Philip Haney. He was interviewed on the Joyce Riley show. Now, not only that, but they're targeting Christian leaders and charismatic folks who can develop a following or have a talent for making videos like Bryce Matthew Quellar or Schaeffer Cox, and there are others that fall in that category. So they'll label them as a terrorist, and they'll say, well, you agreed with the law when you wanted the terrorist indefinite detention for Muslims. It also applies to the Christian boys. Let's stick the Christian boys in prison indefinitely. I tell you what, man, you need to think very seriously about your criminal and your prison industrial complex, your judicial system, because it can totally wreak havoc on your entire society.